Star Trek, the captain's chair is here, and I got my buddy NATO, who's going to teach you how to set it up. We'll get you started on Legendary Tactics. All right, NATO is here. He is here to do all the jobs that you and I don't want to do, the setup, get the game going. But can you give us a little bit of a snapshot of what this game is and how it plays?
So this is well, you can play solitaire, but it's meant to be a head-to-head battle between you and another captain. They have a bunch of the famous captains from the Star Trek series, and you go head-to-head. You're taking control of planets. You're finding new allies and hiring more crew members and building your deck out that way, getting more gadgets and so forth, and sending out ships and trying to basically complete missions for glory.
And this is more than just a deck builder. From what I'm seeing of all the components, we'll get to all of those and show you how it integrates. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
But our main goal in this video is to help you get set up and launch you into your first game. So let's get started straight away. What do we do first?
Okay, first of all, we set up a market strip in the middle of the board here. So this market strip is basically the center piece, I guess, of the main player area. And okay, so we have 4 decks here. We've got the person deck, we have the cargo deck, we have the ship deck, which has little standees, kind of cool, and the ally deck. So these are more like crew members that you find and hire for your crew. These are allies that are more, it's kind of alien races that you are, befriending and you helping, calling upon them to help you out.
Right. And so like this one, when you play it, you gain 3, is that
These
dilithium?
are the dilithium crystals, yes. So there's a lot of that going on.
Nice.
All right, so next.
And now we also have this to go on the side here, the incident deck.
This is the incident deck. These are bad things, essentially, that gets taken into your hand and they cause you penalties. But sometimes it's a sacrifice where you take an incident card, but you also get to draw, say, a person or ship or something as compensation. So
very nice. And then over to this side, we have cards that would be junked.
Yeah, well, yeah. So the setup to this game is kind of unique. So we start out with the market deck and the incident deck, and then you reveal one of each of those cards, and then we do the location deck. Now the location deck, there's, like with a lot of these deck builders, you have to pay attention usually to the bottom where they sort out all your cards and so forth. So there's a lot of advanced locations, and then you take 3 starting locations and you put them on top, okay? And that becomes your location deck. So, and then you have 3 locations that are placed out like this. And this is what they call the neutral zone. This is where you can take control of these planets. There's 3 starting ones on top. So as the deck gets drawn down, you'll get the 3 starters first, and then it'll go into the advanced ones, which are the more
So there's some
planets.
tokens over there that I would send out. Those are the crew tokens, the pink ones.
Yes.
And if I want to gain control, I would need to have 2 more than you. So I could send one out to gain this one, which there's no effect when in the control phase. Once I get the second one,
then
I now
you can control
have
that.
influence over that.
Yes.
I can also, if I have ships in my armada, I can send those to
They
the
can
planet.
also help with control, yes.
Let's take a look at those for a moment.
Sure.
Okay, so all kinds of options here. And this is, to me, what makes a deck builder feel like it's coming alive. That when you claim this card, then you'll get this holographic drone ship.
Yes.
Add that to your armada.
Yes, which you can use and send it out to take control or do whatever. You can warp them around and stuff. It's pretty cool. All right, so those are all the ships there. Now you also have this is kind of an interesting deck here, the Stardate decks. Now the Stardate decks are almost like a timer on the game. So there's different colors here depending on whether you're doing, like, they've got different solo games, different levels of difficulty. But if you're playing the 2-player game, as we are, we put this here, and if you see, it says that there's an effect, and there's a 5 token there. So we put 5 of these glory tokens on there. And once per turn, the player who's just finished takes one of these tokens and puts it onto one of the cards. So it's very much like, you remember in Puerto Rico?
Where it incentivizes you to get that card.
Yes, exactly. So it makes.
But what happens if all these tokens run out?
Once they run out, then this card activates. So during the next player's cleanup step, wipe the market, so all the market gets refreshed.
Very nice. So if people aren't buying the cards, there's a mechanism built in to keep the game moving.
Then the card is discarded. You put 7 tokens on this one, and then during the next player's cleanup step, wipe the market. Right?
Oh, okay.
And so forth. But there's different effects. Like sometimes it's remove any neutral locations or whatever. But basically, it's a reset. The last one being trigger the end of the game.
Right.
So end game scoring.
So it's
one
like,
of the ways the game can end.
Phlox here is hanging out at the local pub, and he's had a few too many. He has to go home, so he leaves. Can't get him anymore.
If he wasn't going to be recruited now, he's never going to.
Okay. So, now, do we have our own play mats for this?
Yes, we do. Let's take a look at those now.
Okay. How about you get Picard, because he kind of looks like you.
Yeah, a little bit.
Let's just show that there's a little bit of similarity there.
Yeah.
Not going to say why. And this guy, Shran.
Yes, a little bit of similarity there too.
Yeah, the weirdness and the giant forehead.
Yes.
So, and if I'm a Star Trek person, which I'm not, it feels like this game has a lot of winks, nudges, and just sort of, if you have knowledge of the Star Trek world, the game is going to be a lot more meaningful.
Oh, very much, yeah. Very much so.
Okay, so these guys, do they have different powers?
Yeah, they have different goals, right? So as far as and rewards and so forth. They also have a basic and an advanced side. So depending on what type of game you want to play,
there's a lot more going on.
There's a lot more going on here, but you don't have to. You can play a basic against an advanced if you want to. It's not. You're not going to put yourself necessarily at a disadvantage or whatever, but it's something that you can do to kind of vary your gameplay. And up once you've gotten used to the basic game, then you can ramp it up a bit.
Okay, so now that we've got our board set up, do we put cubes in here so we can track our progress?
Yeah, we put the tracking cubes in here. We've got research, influence, and military.
Nice.
And that's will help towards the end game scoring and a bunch of other things. So if you have the cubes over there, you can bring those out.
Okay.
So and now we have the dilithium crystals. And among them, you can pick out the 3 cubes here for tracking. So that's kind of a nice, easy setup that way.
I like when boards zigzag like this, so if you knock your board...
Yeah, it doesn't
suddenly you don't lose. Yeah, makes a difference. And
perfect.
We've also got these other resources.
Yep,
what are these
just have
called?
them within handy reach.
Put them on your side.
So this is latinum.
Yes.
And dilithium crystals. There's also an encounter deck that goes up top here. Those are encounter cards. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Okay.
You also get these things, which are kind of neat components here.
Data sticks.
Yes. Now these are used to track your actions. You get 3 actions per turn.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that's all you can do, because there's some cards that activate without spending one of these, but these are your 3 actions you can spend in a turn.
They look like RAM.
yeah, I know they do actually look like RAM. It's a kind of a neat
it's
way
nice,
of doing it. Yeah,
nice and thick plastic here too.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, we also have 3 mission completion tokens. Okay. And we also take these team away, or away teams. Sorry, I should say away teams. Right. These are mission teams you send out.
These are the people that I go to take control of a planet
locations,
or location.
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Very nice.
So you get 5 of these in the starter game anyway.
Okay. Excellent. So do we need to put some decks down then?
Yes, so now we can put our characters down. Now, this will be a little bit different than what the rule book says, because we're just the space we're working with here.
Right, normally you would play opposite each other.
Yes, and you'd organize things a little bit better. So you have your captain card, and actually technically your team away things should go on top of it here. The captain card will even give you an end game or reaction, or sometimes abilities. I know Picard gets points for allies at the end game scoring. Also, we get the Enterprise, USS Enterprise D.
And I get the Kumari.
So we get that. And these are activated, so you can see on each card here, if there's this little symbol, then it says you've got to spend one of these actions to take that action. But if it's activation, you can just turn it and take that action.
And then it resets. Very
cool. And then
cool.
it resets at the beginning of the next turn. So very cool that way. We also have a deck that is the development deck. These are cards you can buy.
Okay.
They're face up, actually, and you can choose to buy the one that you want. And then there's a reserve deck that's placed on top of it face down. Okay. And then we have our hands, or sorry, the cards that are made up of our hands. We're looking for the words available at the bottom. And these are the cards that we draw from.
So this is what makes it a deck builder.
This is the deck builder. This is the one that we start with.
Cycling and
so you shuffle, you draw 5 cards. Okay. Also, there's a first player token. So I'll let you go first.
Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you. Now I've got my cards. I've chosen 5 of them. How would I play through the sequence here, or what would I be doing next?
There's 4 sections to each turn. So number 1 is resupply. There's some abilities which allow you to gain resources or something in the resupply phase. Then there's control, where you can actually, if you have control of a planet, where you have more than 2 or more than your opponent, and you have at least 2 control, then you can take control of that planet on your turn. Then you do your actions and spend your 3 actions.
Okay.
And then you do a cleanup phase, essentially, where you reset the cards, and you also do like this, taking the glory, putting it on the card in the market and moving that that timer forward. And you can discard any cards that you have in hand that you don't like, and draw it back up to 5.
Very nice. Now these I can trigger either cards from my hand or places I control, or ships or people that way, if it's got that play symbol on it. Okay.
Yes. So and activation is you can play it without any needing an action. There's some in there which are reactions. So for example, Picard is a reaction to something happening in the game. Then it happens, triggers as soon as that happens.
Oh, okay. So as soon as you gain an ally, then you follow the instructions.
Discard a card to gain a glory, and you may beam the gained card to a ship. So there's more mechanics than that. This isn't really a how to play video, but that's basically the setup. Basically, what you're looking at in terms of gameplay in sort of very basic terms. And I hope that helps.
Excellent. I appreciate you setting it up. Yep. Hopefully you appreciate it too. And we'll leave the rest to you to discover.
Yes, that sounds good.
Now get out there.
Get gaming. And be legendary.